Welcome, everyone. We're diving into a fascinating geopolitical shift today, where we see China and India, two major global South powers, easing tensions amidst rising US tariffs.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So, talk about how these dynamics are playing out. What's the big headline here?
Well, first off, we've got Indian Prime Minister Modi set to make his first visit to China in 7 years. And that visit comes at a time when both nations are like looking to ease trade barriers and even resume direct flights, which is huge after the border clashes that flared up back in 2020.
Yep, that's a significant turnaround, right? Because those clashes really pushed tensions through the roof. So, with tensions easing now, it feels like the two of them are literally mending a really deep rift.
Exactly. It's like these two nations are saying enough is enough. They're building bridges, a contrast to the divisive measures we've seen, like the US imposing um, 50% tariffs on over $48 billion worth of Indian exports.
And it's interesting you bring up the tariffs. I mean, the US apparently thought that pressure could, coerce India into aligning with its policies. But it seems India's not backing down, eh?
Absolutely. The tariffs are more a kind of economic bully tactic that the US tried to use on India. But instead of folding under pressure, India is standing its ground. And what's more, it's not just India. The entire global south seems to be uniting, signaling broader multipolar shifts in power.
Yeah, that kind of unity is really compelling. Speaking of global unity, I know more than 20 world leaders are due to gather in China for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. That's a pretty strong move, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. This summit is like a coming together of voices from the global south, all emphasizing the need to stand together, especially as US policies, like these tariffs, try to reassert old
Right?
hierarchies.
It's almost like a counterbalance. And it's not just rhetoric. There's some concrete action too, right? I mean, easing trade barriers and resuming flights. Those are tangible steps towards improving relations and, frankly, boosting economic ties.
Yeah, so think of it like this. After years of strained relations, resuming direct flights isn't only about transport. It's a powerful symbol of trust being rebuilt between the two. And easing trade barriers, that warms up the economic engines on both sides.
Exactly. But let me ask, isn't there a risk that these gestures, while symbolic, might not be enough to fully counteract the pressures from US tariffs? I mean, tariffs have a real immediate economic impact.
That's a fair point. While one could argue these measures might be seen as, symbolic, the context really speaks volumes. The fact that India is willing to engage with China so earnestly after 7 years of minimal direct contact indicates that the actions are rooted in a deep geopolitical
I see
strategy,
what you mean,
not
yeah.
just symbolism.
And these actions come at a time when even the US is scrambling to apply the same tactics it used on China now on India, correct?
Exactly. It's like the US tried the tariff hammer on China earlier, didn't work as planned, and now they're shifting focus. But India, and by extension other global south countries, aren't going to crawl under that pressure.
Right, they've learned to hold their ground. So, in some ways, this looks like a pivot towards a multipolar world, where economic might and diplomatic resolve are no longer solely defined by Western powers.
Yes, you're spot on. With record highs in SKO trade being reported, it's clear there's more economic momentum in the global south than ever before. It's like we're witnessing a reordering of global alliances, where cooperation is becoming the norm instead of
Yeah,
isolation.
it's like a new era in global diplomacy. Now, what about the impact on global supply chains? I mean, if the global south strengthens its internal ties, could that potentially reshape global trade routes?
Oh, absolutely. When you think about it, direct flights and eased trade barriers, as small as they might seem, are critical components. They enable smoother logistics and more efficient market flows. This could very well lead to alternative supply chain corridors that bypass traditional Western dominated routes.
That definitely makes sense. And isn't it ironic that while the US tries to use tariffs as a weapon, these global South nations are turning that pressure into a driving force for unity and innovation?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you face adversity, you get creative in the best possible way. Instead of capitulating under economic strain, they're like forming alliances and building bridges, both figuratively and literally.
Exactly, it's turning the tables. But, some critics might argue that these moves could be more about optics rather than substantive change. What do you think?
I get that perspective, but if we drill down, the layers here are pretty telling. I mean, record highs in SCO trade and significant high stake diplomatic meetings are not just window dressing. They're part of a larger strategic dialogue that seeks to rebalance power in the international arena.
Right, you see the bigger picture. Yeah, it feels like the global south is saying, we're not going to let external pressures dictate our priorities. And there's a lot of determination behind that message.
Exactly. And to add a bit more context, this approach reflects a nuanced understanding of modern geopolitics. By easing tensions between India and China, it potentially opens up a path for resolving other conflicts through dialogue rather than confrontation.
Definitely a move towards stability. What about the SKO summit then? How critical is that gathering in cementing these new alliances?
The summit is honestly kind of the icing on the cake. It's a convergence of over 20 world leaders showcasing a united front that emphasizes, economic cooperation and mutual respect. These are key signals to the entire world that the traditional power dynamics are being renegotiated.
Yep, that's a game changer. And we can't overlook the role of media in this, right? Interviews like these, recorded via platforms like StreamYard, bring these nuanced discussions to a broader audience.
Definitely. Platforms are not just spreading the news, they're shaping opinions. They're prompting, deeper discussions on global power shifts.
Yeah, it's like everyone's able to join that dialogue. So, where do you see this all heading? Will these changes lead to a more equitable world order?
It's hard to say with absolute certainty, but if we look at the evidence, like India's robust stance despite those heavy tariffs, plus the warming relations between China and India, it paints a picture of resistance against established power imbalances. It's like the global south is tightening its bonds in response to external pressures.
That's encouraging. I love that perspective. It almost sounds like the world is shifting gears, slowly but surely, away from old paradigms.
For sure. And let's not forget, it's also a reminder that economic policies like tariffs, while impactful, aren't absolute. They often have unintended consequences, fueling innovation, and even political realignments instead of quelling them.
Yeah, unexpected outcomes indeed. I guess that resonates with the idea that pressure can sometimes bring out the best in you, spurring countries to form stronger alliances in times of stress.
Exactly. It's like adversity breeds unity. And while the US tariffs are designed as a form of economic coercion, the reaction from India, China, and their allies shows a resolve to, carve out their own path.
Right. They're not just standing still, they're moving forward together. It's such a dynamic, evolving scenario. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these developments unfold over the coming months.
Me too. The interplay between tariffs, trade policies, and diplomatic ties is complex. But one thing's clear, the global south isn't going to be easily pressed around. They're forming a coalition of resilience that might just
Absolutely,
reshape
it's
the
like
global
watching
order.
history being written in real time. And that makes it all the more thrilling to follow. There's plenty of material here for anyone interested in international relations, economics, and even how technology plays a role in spreading these ideas.
Exactly. We're seeing a paradigm shift where economic policies, like those pesky US tariffs, ironically encourage greater solidarity among nations seeking self reliance. It's like a domino effect. Every move has its ripple.
It's the butterfly effect on a global scale. Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. It's been a great discussion, and I think we've covered a lot of ground on how China and India are reshaping their ties against the backdrop of US tariffs and global realignments.
Definitely. Thanks for tuning in and engaging with these ideas. It's a fascinating time to be following global politics. Catch you all next time as we continue exploring these transformative shifts in the world order.